Hello, I'm Maggie Pashley, and I'm just going to give you a short, fairly informal talk on the access bars, which are the 32 points on the head um, that are used during a bar session to create sometimes really profound change. Now, I don't know who's going to be joining us on this call, and in fact, I've invited quite a few people, but I'm not exactly sure who may be turning up. Some people couldn't make it, so I shall try and answer their questions. So I'm just going to be talking about, first of all, my own experience with the bars, and answer questions that often come up when people with people about the bar, sometimes just out of curiosity before they've ever had the bars, or maybe after having a bar session, or even perhaps even having done the day training. So basically, the bars are part of a bigger system called Access Consciousness, which was developed by an American man called Gary Douglas, and then developed further in collaboration with his business partner, Dane Hare. And Gary essentially had reached a place in his life where he felt that he felt basically unhappy. He felt that there wasn't a sufficiently good enough reason to keep on going. So even though there might have been outward signs of success, he felt quite desperate. So he put out this big cry to the universe, if you like, basically giving a demand. If I'm to continue living, then show me how to, give me a reason for being here. Show me a way of using my talents and gifts, and helping other people. So essentially, there is there is something exciting to stay around for. And as a result of that, and those weren't his exact words, I don't know what these exact words were, but as a result of that, he started to become quite psychic, and to in fact start channeling, and people liked the information that many people liked the information that he was channeling. And one day he was asked by a massage therapist, we have somebody just joined us. Let me just see who just joined. Hello, Libby. I can see that you're there. So hopefully you can hear me. Can you hear me? Oh, I think Libby's chatting to me. And I just see if I'm just going to see if I muted her. Anyway, so I'll go on. So basically, he made this demand of and became quite psychic, and was invited to do some channeling for a massage therapist. And out of this session came the 32 points that we now refer to as the bars. And they're called the bars because the points are often bilateral, and they connect from one side to another, like a bar of energy, literally connecting one side to the other. And in fact, I will, in a moment, I'll show you on my screen what they look like. And so he started using these, and he himself describes how when he first started using them, he really didn't know what they would do, or how, he didn't really even have much confidence in himself to actually use energy. But in fact, through asking other people what results they were getting, he realized that people were often getting really excellent results, and lots of things were changing for them. There's a little bit of noise there, so I just muted you, Libby, and that's fine. Hopefully I will come back to you and ask you something, and I'll definitely unmute you then. So yes, and you know, he's been doing it now for possibly 20 or 30 years, I'm not quite sure, but during that time there's been massive growth both in the bars and in the wider system access consciousness. And so let me just show you a picture of what these bars look like then. So share screen. So here we go. So these are, let's see if this works, and it should work. You should hopefully be seeing a picture of, on your screen, of these 32 points, and they relate to all sorts of different issues that we might have. We have things like money, control, creativity. We have here we have, oh, you can see it here. We have joy and sadness, sexuality in the body. At the top of the head, we have something pretty amazing called the aging toaster that is very good for clearing viewpoints that we might have, fixed viewpoints we might have on what it's like to age, what it's like when we hit a particular age in our life, views about older people and things like that. So that's a really lovely point to use. And just let me, so that was just, if I just close this down for a moment. So we start off by just running energy through the body by, first of all, holding the third eye and the back of the head, and this is, and pulling energy from the feet to the top of the head, and then holding the feet and pulling energy through the body to the feet and up through the giver's head, and then similarly through the hands. And this is just to create a more open flow within our body to make us receptive to what happens when we hold the other points. And I'll just stop sharing my screen now. Yeah, so back to me, so essentially, Access is really very much about being open and asking questions, letting go of fixed points of view about things, because when we have fixed points of view, we solidify our experience and we can get very stuck. So if we're in a stuck situation, to actually ask, what else is possible here, can begin to open us up to having insights and awareness to things that we wouldn't have had we shut ourselves down and just been happy with that we had all the answers. So basically, how does this relate to bars? Well, when we're running the bars, we're actually working on clearing fixed points of view about these particular issues, about fixed points of view around money, fixed points of view about having to be in control, fixed points of view about what it means to be creative, what sexuality should look like, any fixed judgments of our body. So, and we're doing this just by being open to receive the energy of the bars, and to use a bar session as a way of, like, it's often described as a way of like defragging our personal computer, our personal throwing out our old baggage, the stuff that doesn't work for us, And the nice thing about it is that you don't even have to know what it is, because sometimes we just know we have an issue in a particular area of our life or with a particular issue, and we don't know where it comes from. And it might not even feel like ours. And actually, often it isn't ours. It can be something that we picked up from our family, from our from our schooling, from a religion we might have been brought up in, and it might have been stuff that even our parents themselves picked up from their ancestors, and so it goes on. So I found the bars really amazing, and I have to say, hand and heart, not straight away, because I came across the bars in 2007. In fact, I did my first bars class in 2007, and at that time there weren't that many people using the bars. Well, not that many in the area I live in West Yorkshire in England, and I found the session really wonderfully relaxing. I learned how to do the points. I did them on a few people, but there weren't many people around to do it back to me. And to cut a long story short, after a short period of time, I kind of put them on the shelf and stopped using this particular approach. Partly because I did quite a lot of other different things, and somehow felt that maybe they were more serious or more researched or whatever, and chose to stick with them. And it wasn't until last year, it's just over a year ago, that I noticed remarkable changes in a friend of mine. And they were remarkable because she had been quite stuck for quite a while, and I'd seen her make, small changes, but suddenly she seemed quite different. She seemed much more decisive and much more empowered. So I was curious to hear what she'd been doing. And what she'd been doing was access consciousness stuff and starting out with the bars. And because I knew that if you do one class of the bars, you get your second class half price. It was a bit of a no-brainer for me to think, okay, let's have another look at this. Let me find somebody that I can do a bars class with. And I was lucky enough to find the lovely Fiona Cutts, who lives quite local. She lives in just about 10 miles from me. And I did my second bars class with her. And from that, I went on to really want to use the bars. And I was also receiving the bars myself in bar shares, and from other bars practitioners. And so I got to see, first of all, how wonderfully it feels in the session, and what the changes that it can make in your life outside the session. And one of the really fantastic things for me was doing it on my partner, who kept asking me to do it. So he's a busy man, so he wouldn't ask for something that wasn't helping him. And I could see the changes in him. I could see him be more decisive and confident and clear about what was right for him. But a side benefit of this, which neither of us were expecting, was he went to along to his surgery to have a diabetic checkup, and he had shock onset diabetes that he'd had for about 10 years. And they were very puzzled at the surgery, because they said, well, this has never happened before, but it looks like your blood sugars have normalized. And they were really very, very puzzled, actually. And this was using, some very efficient testing system that measures your blood sugars over a period of months. So he came off diabetic medication. They're still monitoring him, but they're not calling him back and saying he needs to have the medication back. So I'm not saying that because of that, anybody who receives bars and they're diabetic, they're going to have the same response that Michael had. But it does show what else is possible. What else is possible? And that's a question we keep asking. What else is possible? And I have another student who has MS, and she's, since doing a bars class, she's seeing quite big changes in herself, and now she wants to go out and help other people with MS. And so it can do so much. People have found that it's really helped them if they've been depressed, even, you know, verging on just not wanting to be here. And certainly that was the case of Gary's partner, a business partner, Dane Hare, who says quite openly that he was really contemplating suicide, having, on the face of it, being fairly successful, but just feeling that life just wasn't worth living, and having had already tried a number of approaches that still didn't make him feel any better. So so it can do so many things. People have found that their bodies feel lighter or freer. They've sometimes come off medication. Sometimes they've had well, even something that was they felt was almost incurable, that changed. And in fact, last weekend I spent the day with somebody who had ulcerative colitis for a number of years and was really feeling at death's door. And he says that having the first session of bars is what changed things around for him. So so what else is possible? And there's some. I just wanted to see. I'm just going to see if Libby might want to say anything about the bars. I don't want to put you quite on the spot. Well, I am putting you on the spot, but you can always say no. So I'm just going to unmute you. So, is there anything you'd like to say, Libby? Actually, I can't hear you. Maybe you've muted yourself. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I shall just. So I've got some questions of people who wanted to be on this call who couldn't make it of us. So I'm just going to answer those. So I've heard somebody said, is it similar to Reiki? Well, it's no, it's not similar to Reiki. With Reiki, in a way, we are channeling energy into somebody to help rebalance them. I teach Reiki. I've done various kinds of Reiki over the years. And Reiki is something that has a tradition that, you know, is said to either come from Dr. Usui or it's, you know, some other tradition, depending on what kind of Reiki you're doing. And other people have asked, is it similar to, does it use meridian energy? Does it use, is it based on chakras? And again, the answer to that is no. The bars weren't around before Gary Douglas channeled them. So he channeled the points, he channeled the names, he channeled the reason for doing it, and he just had the willingness to try it out, to experiment, and to see what happened when people receive the bars. Another question I've got here is, when I received the bars once, I had a bit of a headache. Why was that? Sometimes, generally when people receive the bars, it feels very, very relaxing. This is what I'll say first of all. It generally feels very relaxing. People often go into a really, really deep space. And it's often said that when you have the bars, you know, the worst thing that will happen, you'll feel like you've had a good massage, and the most you might get is your whole life might change. So generally it's a very positive experience. However, for some people there can be some intensity that comes up while they're receiving the bars. They might feel a particular area might feel either hot, or it might tingle, or they might get some sensation like that. I've had one person say that they felt they had a bit of a headache come on while they were doing the bars, and even afterwards. And that can be because they need to drink water. It could be part of the processing. It can be sometimes their resistance to whatever they're processing. So what I would say in those situations, one question to ask is, first of all, who does this belong to? Which might seem a very odd thing to ask, because obviously you've got a headache, it feels like it's your head that's hurting. But who does this belong to will help you realize if it's in fact definitely your response, or whether you're actually picking things up from other people, and that's causing you to have this intensity on in your head. If you ask, what who does it belong to, and suddenly you feel lighter or freer, it's because it wasn't yours in the first place. In which case you can simply ask, you can simply say, return to sender with consciousness attached, which isn't a mean thing to do. It's giving the other person the chance to clear whatever energies they need to clear, and you having that yourself is not going to help them. The other thing you can do is to expand outwards, so that you expand the space around you, and that can make a really big difference as well. And you can ask, you know, truth, what is this about? But ask in a way that is non-demanding, asking a way that is curious. What's going on here? And especially if you feel that there is a tenderness in one particular point, it could be that one of these bars has been triggered by something around you, maybe somebody's conversation, or you being suddenly presented with something that triggers off maybe a money issue or a control issue, in which case you can simply touch the part of your head that is hurting quite firmly, and often doing that makes a difference. Just looking at what other people have asked, can you really learn how to do it in one day? can you really become a practitioner in one day? And the answer to that is yes. But the bars class is a great class, because not only do you get to give and you receive your bars twice, so you get a really good experience of the bars, because when we give the bars, we receive them too, and in fact we're able to release any points of view that we have in common with the person we're working on. So for example, say we're working on somebody who has similar points of view about control issues to ourselves. Not only are we releasing those points of view from them, but we're also doing it with ourselves. And sometimes you can really, really experience that, that when you're running somebody's bars, you feel stuff happening in yourself. And so at the end of the day, not only have you shifted a whole load of stuff, but you're then able to go away and you've got your manual, you've got the charts to refer to, and you can go away and practice on anybody. Somebody else has joined us. Hello. So yes, it's a great it's a great way of adding something to your portfolio, say if you're a healer, or it's just something really good to know how to do, to be able to do on your friends, your family. And once you've done it, you can even I'm just going to mute the person who's just joined for the moment, just so I can there's not a noise at the moment, but I'll come back to you and I'll ask if you've got any questions. So it's So I was saying it's something you can go away and use. You can do sessions on people. You can even charge for those sessions. And it's important to be kind to yourself. It does take some degree of time just to learn how to do the points, but you have your chart to refer to. It's very, very easy to pick up. And you can come to bar shares. I have bar shares where people who have done the bars can come and give and receive bars. And I've got one coming up on Tuesday, the 24th of May, if you want, 2016, if in case anybody's watching this video in the far future. And that's just a great way of sharing the bars, of seeing the changes that happen in the people that do the bars, and getting mutual support, and it's just a really, really great evening. So I'm just going to unmute the last person who joined and just ask if you've got any questions. So do you have any questions?
Hi, it's Nikki here. I don't at the moment. It's the first time that I'm learning about this, so it's just to get an overview.
Yeah, okay, and I can send you a replay, because you probably missed. It seems like you missed the earlier part of it, but I can send you a replay.
Oh, thanks. Sorry, I thought it started at 7 for some reason. I probably got it wrong.
Oh no, okay, no, it was 6:30, so 6:30, 7:30. No problem at all. No. So, how did you come across the bars then?
I was at a yoga festival in Bermuda just a week or so ago, and I met somebody there who did practice on me, and also just told me about them.
Okay, and what was it like for you? Did you enjoy the session?
Yes, it was it was like a taster session, so it was only 20 minutes, but it was very relaxing, and obviously I couldn't really understand everything about it in such a short time, but it would just it just intrigued me, so I wanted to find out more.
Yeah. And are you based, whereabouts are you based?
So I'm from Ilkley, so not too far, I think, from.
Okay, right, yeah. So there are quite a few people doing it locally and teaching it locally. And I've got a workshop coming up on. Oh, you're booked on my work. Is it? It's because you're coming up as Marini. Are you the lady booked on my workshop?
Um, I no, sorry, no, I'm not. My actual name's Nikki. So I don't think so. No, is it during the
No.
week?
No, oh no, no, that's fine. Anyway, just to let you know, if it felt right for you, I've got a workshop coming up on the 11th of June, which will be in Silsden, which is just as not far at all from Ilkley, and you can find details of that. Well, either you can get back to me on Facebook or go to maggiepashley.com and you will see details. Details on the practitioner day there. Yeah. So what I wanted for us to do is just to have well, I wanted to answer any questions that people might have. And as I've seemed to have answered most of those, I wanted to do what I would do if I was to do a kind of a face-to-face taster where I was physically inviting people to my place to experience the bars. I would probably do a bit of a taster with them, physical taster. Obviously, it would be unfair to share all the bars with people, not just because people pay for the day, but because it doesn't do it credit. It doesn't do it credit not to give give people the opportunity to spend the whole day doing it and to really soaking up that energy and asking all the questions that come up, because when you actually do a bars class, then it's a lot of things often come up that you want to ask, and it's really good to have somebody to answer them. You've got somebody to guide you to those points, and you've got an experience, as I've said before, both sides. But in a taster, what we can do, what I would do if we're doing a physical taster, is I would start off by getting people to begin by just starting running the energy through certain points, to do energy sweeps through certain points. It's what we call pulling, energy pulls. So I'm going to invite you to do that now. Now, obviously, it's not going to feel quite the same doing it on yourself as it is having somebody else doing it. Having said that, you can actually do the bars on yourself, and I often do, and it can feel quite nice. In fact, just lying in bed and running the bars on yourself can feel really good. But it's more powerful. It's more powerful having and more relaxing and a better experience having somebody else do it. But let's begin by just doing the energy pulls. So the energy pull, the first energy pull involves putting your fingers on normally it would be your partner's third eye and what we call the power band, which is at the back of the head, and then bringing energy up through from the bottom of the feet all the way through the body to the top of the head. So if you'd like to try that now, just putting your fingers on the third eye and your and the other a hand on the back of your head, just off what we call the occipital ridge. So off the, just find the bumpy bit at the, just find the bump at the back of your head and go down to the base of that bump. And just imagine, I'm just going to invite you now just to imagine pulling energy and how do you ask to pull energy? Well, you just ask and it just does it, and it's not difficult. So just pull the energy up from the bottom of your feet all the way through your body and up through the top of your head. And you just keep doing this until it begins to feel smoother. So doing it on somebody else, I might do this for maybe 2, 3, 4 minutes, depending on what on how I perceive the energy flowing. It's often said that this is also a very good hold to do if we are stepping up into more power, because where we've got the hand at the bottom and back of the head is called the power band. And when we're making big shifts in our life and stepping into more of our power and potency, it can be good to run this. So I'm just going to be quiet for a moment and just let you do that. I'll just mute you again. Okay. Right. Okay, now I want you to imagine running energy down from the top of your head down to your feet. In this case, I'm just going to ask you to imagine doing that. If you were in a class and you were doing it with a partner, or you were attending a share, or a taster, a physical taster, I would get somebody to do this for you. But just imagine that somebody is touching your feet, and specifically the point which is just off in the hollow, just off the ball of the foot. It's what in Chinese medicine is called Qigong. I don't have a big enough picture to screen share this with you, but just imagine, just make it easy on yourself, just imagine flowing energy from the top of your head all the way through your body, down through the, right down into your feet and right down at the bottom of your feet. And imagine, you could even imagine somebody holding your feet and imagine it flowing through them and out through the top of their head, which is what we would be doing. In fact, it's just occurred to me, I can imagine that I am holding the base of your feet and flowing it down through your bodies and out through the top of my head. I've never done this before. Okay, and the final energy pull that we do to begin a session with is to put, if I were doing it on somebody, I'd put my middle finger into the middle of somebody's palm and they would put their middle finger into my palm. So if you have your hands like this and just imagine that somebody is putting their middle finger into the center of your palm and you're putting your middle finger into the center of their palm, and just letting energy flow through your arms, into your hands, out of your hands, into this imaginary person's hands, and out through the top of their head. Actually, it feels quite good, and I don't. Not as good as somebody doing it on you, but so having done those 3 energy pulls, I'm just going to introduce you to the first point that we would use on somebody, and it's called the implant band. And it's all the ways in which we have picked up viewpoints, beliefs, even oaths and vows and all sorts of fixed points of view about what's possible, what isn't possible, what men do, what women do, what a person like this does, and all that sort of thing that limits us, that restricts us. And it's called the implant band. And it's just behind the ear. So if you put your hands right next to where your ear joins your head, and then move your fingers. So I've got my fingers like that. Just move them back until they just go over that small raised bump into a little groove, and that's called the implant band. So perhaps you might want to, we'll do this for a few minutes, but you might want to, when you go to bed tonight, if you're able to and it feels convenient, you could use this this hold. And the implant band, holding the implant band, is just a way of like defragging ourselves of all those old considerations, and it can be a really, really powerful thing to do. And so that's why when we begin a bar session, we often hold this. We generally hold this for quite a while, for maybe 10-15 minutes, because we can let go of a lot of stuff when we do this. So just holding these. And obviously doing it as we're doing it, well, as I'm doing it, just sitting here with my arms raised isn't the most relaxing way of doing it. If you're doing it on yourself, it's better to do it in a chair where your arms are supported, or lying down where your arms are supported. So we'll just stop that now. So we did, just recap, we did the energy pulls, pulling energy from the feet to the top of the head, then pulling energy down from the top of the head to the feet, and then through the hands. Now, I have to say that that generally it's not recommended that we do bars at a distance, because one of the things that is wonderful about the bars is the body receiving, and there's nothing that beats hands-on energy work for being able to receive. So Gary Douglas doesn't recognise the distance bars work, which is it's another question that I just realised has come in for me to answer. Can you do it at a distance? Well, you can, and people do, and I would say it's probably better than nothing, and sometimes it can be very effective, but it's not as effective as doing hands-on. So just to then remind you that what I've got coming up is I've got a bar share coming up on the 24th of May, which is open to people who have already done a bars class, and they can share with each other. So I've got a chat coming in from Nikki. How can you tell if bar work has an effect? Okay. Well, the best way you can tell is what it does for you and what it does in your life. And the important thing is not what it does for that hour that you receive it, but what it does outside in the rest of your life. And before you got online, Nikki, I was actually telling you what it did for my own partner, which was he was on diabetic medication, having had shock onset diabetes for 10 years, and he was able to come off it. He never did the bars with the intention of it being able to have that affect his diabetes. He was just receiving the bars because he enjoyed it. So it was amazing for him to to have that experience. People have come off, they've been they've been very depressed, and they've been able to come out of depression. There've been people. I heard of somebody a couple of days ago who'd had a tumour, and it just dissolved the tumour. Everybody's different, but one of the things I invite you to do, if you want to go to my website, maggiepashley.com, on the bars, I don't know which page it's on. I don't know whether it's on the Access Bars session page or the Access Bars. I think it's probably on that page or on the classes page. But there is a video by a man called Dr. Feinin, who is a neuroscientist. And he's done quite a lot of experimentation, looking at how energy work can be measured with scientific equipment. And he was very impressed, having received the bar session himself. He decided to, off his own bat, experiment and do a before and after session with somebody, and he was gobsmacked at what he perceived happening differently in the body through the different measuring equipment he was using. I think he was using EEGs, measuring brain waves. I think he was measuring coherence. He was using some other way of measuring. But there's a video on that which shows things literally physically changing in the body during a bar session that can be measured with scientific equipment. And since then, he has gone on to do a much wider, full-blown study on the bars, which will be, I think, will be published sometime this summer. But certainly, people have had, all sorts of really quite big effects through having the bars, whether it's through, physical well-being, through feeling more uplifted, through feeling more confidence. In my own case, I would say I procrastinate a lot less. The fact I'm actually doing what I'm speaking and inviting people to join me on a Zoom call is something I probably wouldn't have done a few months ago, and much more willing probably to have a go at something, and much more willing to show up. So I hope that answers your question a little bit, Nikki. Obviously, the most important thing is what will it do for you, and it's only through trying it yourself that you'll find out what it will do for you. I do think that it's important to see it not as a one-off thing, but to give it a few sessions and see what it does. In the video that we watch in the training day, Dane says, give yourself 10 sessions before you decide whether it's working or not. And I think that's probably quite good. And it doesn't actually mean you've got to pay for 10 sessions, because you can do the training and you can swap with somebody, and it's once you've done the training, you can you can trade and get your bar sessions for free, and so that's a really good thing. So yes, I think I was in the middle of saying that. Did that answer your question, Nikki? Do you want to say yes or no? Yes. Okay, good. So I've got this bar share count coming up on the Tuesday, the 24th of May, which is 6:30 to 6:30 for about 2.5 hours is probably what it takes. So to about 9 o'clock. So if people have done the bars, and I know there's at least one person on this call who has done the bars, you can come along and share. I'm also making it open to people who've never done the bars before, who just want to receive. So they can't give because they've never learned how to give, because they haven't done the training day. But if you just want to come and experience it, then come. But rather than it costing £10, which is the nominal amount we charge for a bar share, or that I charge for a bar share, you would pay more. You'd pay £35, but that's £10 cheaper than if you were coming and having a session. So that's a way of trying out, just trying out, trying out at a very reasonable rate, what you're going to get out of it, or whether it feels right for you. And in Access, we do very much encourage people to tune into themselves whether something feels right for them or not. And we say that if something feels light or expansive or freer in some way, then that's probably a yes answer. And if something feels more contracted, if you ask a question and you have that response, you feel lighter, freer, then that's a yes for you. And if it's a no, if you feel more contracted, heavier, kind of more restricted, then that's a no. So what I would say is, you're the one who knows whether this feels right for you, whether it feels like something you'd want to explore further at this time. And it might not be, and it might be. So, and sometimes it might not be today, but it might be tomorrow, or in a month's time, or a year's time. So, so just tune in whether it does feel right for you. And then if you want to know more, then just get back to me. So you can either contact me on my email, which is Maggie Pashley, MaggiePashley shley@gmail.com, or you can give me a ring on 07939 118 136, or and if I can send people a recording, so anybody who wants a recording of tonight's session, I can send you that if you'd like to email me and request that. So any questions before we wrap up? So I'm looking on the chat. Any questions? So I could actually write any questions as well. Okay, so we'll leave it there then. But if you do, feel free to get back to me and with any questions or comments, or if they want to receive any more information about further classes, you can send me your email, and I'll put you on my list and let you know of any further classes. And if you can't make the class on Saturday the 11th of June and do want to learn it, then I will be doing more. Or if you have a particular date that would work really well for you and you could grab a few people, even just a couple more people, and I'd be happy to come and teach you, or you could come here as a your own little private class. So hope this has been useful, and I hope to see some of you soon or later. So bye, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.